All right, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm so glad to be here this evening. Wow. Wow and wow. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm here and I'm just going to give you a moment to log in with me while I am here waiting to see if anyone is going to join. And if you're not joining live and you're joining for the replay, just drop a hashtag replay in the chat. Let me know. And if you're here live, just say hello. Hey, Neen, how you doing? Today is a wonderful day. It's a great day to be alive. And I'm so excited to be here with you all. So I'm just going to give it a moment. Today, I gave you all warning that I was going live at 9 o'clock. And so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. Welcome. I've decided to call this Good Health and Prosper. Good health and prosper. In the book of John, we see the epistle of John. He says, Beloved, above all things, I wish that you would be in good health and prosper, even as your soul prospers. And that is a paraphrase, so go look it up. And I thought that it was so fitting, especially considering the conversation that we had the last time that we were together and I was on camera. Now I have been back once since, but now I'm back. And so let's go ahead and get started. You all are here because I want to talk about something that happened with my family when we talk about protecting our loved ones and protecting our assets. But before we get started, I will be starting off each of our sessions with the two questions that are transforming my life because I want you to check in. I want you to sound off. I want you to let me know exactly what you're implementing in your life. And so the first question is, how different would my life be if I took my own advice? That's the first question. And it looks like my video has frozen for a moment. Hold on a second. Let's just make sure we're still alive here. Okay, good. We're still alive. All right. Sorry, you all, the video froze. And I also want to apologize. I was not here last week because I had no voice. For those of you who know, I talk for a living as I teach and I facilitate. And you can still hear some raspiness in my voice, but I was determined and committed to being here tonight. So, first question on the books tonight is, how different would my life be if I took my own advice? And so, as a result of that, I am here with you. And I'll tell you, the advice that I had for myself concerning showing up here on Thursday nights was that I needed to set up a time that I was going to commit to. So that when I say I'm going to be here at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever that time is that I commit to, you all can expect me to be here and I will be honoring my word. So as it stands right now, it's going to be 9 o'clock at night. And I know what you might be thinking. Wow, that is so late. Janine, why 9 o'clock at night? It's been a long day. And that's exactly why. Because it's been a long day. And for those of you who might have little people, this may be the only time that you get to yourself or really early in the morning. And for those of you who know me, you know that I am a night owl. So it's much easier for me to stay awake at night than to and try to get up early and do this in the morning. So for now, we're going to meet here on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. I want you to come because I'm going to be doing some teaching, right? We're going to do some growing together in our lives, spiritually, with our health, financially, relationally, and mentally. And so I'm really excited about this journey, and I'm so glad that you all are here to join me on it. So, first question for today is, how different would my life be if I took my own advice? And if you would please go ahead and drop that in the chat for me. I want to know, what advice have you needed to give yourself? And what advice have you taken? And share that with me in the chat just in the past few weeks. So mine is that I need to commit to a time to be here, which I have done. And then another one is that that it's okay. it's okay to be okay. Sometimes you feel like you don't want to say, "Oh, I feel good." Maybe you feel like you need to complain a little, but it's okay to be okay. And so, y'all, I just want you to know I'm magnificently okay today. And I hope you all are too. All right. Second question. Second question coming up. Second question is, how different would I be if I believed God? Now, listen, this one is really this one is really important to me. The first one is important, but this one is different. I was watching a podcast this week, and the young lady was talking about, some new commitments that she had made in her life. And she was making a comment about how something didn't go the way she had hoped it would go. And her comment was, but I mean, that would be too much like right. That would be easy. And why would God make it easy? And I paused. Y'all, I paused because I was like, why wouldn't God make it easy? Right? And I was thinking about how we testify to what we believe about God through our language and through our behavior. Because I hear that so often. I myself have been guilty of it in times past. I'm saying things like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. God isn't going to laugh at your plans. God is excited about your plans. He wants to give you the desires of your heart, you know? And it makes me stop and say, what is it that we believe about God? And that question, how different would I be if I believe God when he says that he is good? When he says no good thing will he withhold from him or her that walks uprightly in him, right? Like, what do you believe about God? I'm just curious. And how does your language reflect that you truly believe that? So, do you believe that he's good even when things go wrong? Your emotions may get all out of whack. I'm telling you, sometimes your emotions can take you on a roller coaster ride. But what does your heart and mind know to be true? Regardless of your emotions, right? In your humanity, giving yourself space for your emotions. Okay, that's what you feel, but what do you know to be true? I'm going to pause here, you all, because it looks like the screen is frozen again. I just want to make sure that we're live and kicking here. All right, and we are. Okay, very good. All right, so what do you believe about God? Y'all, I believe that he's good. And I just want to give you some verses to help you, right? Because faith comes by hearing, hearing the word of the Lord. And so the first one is from Psalm 145:9. It says, "The Lord is good to all, and his tender mercies are over all his works." The next one came from Nahum 1:7. It says, "The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him." And then Mark 10:18, when Christ says, "Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God." I mean, the word testifies to this, right? And then we always say things like, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." So we say these things when we're conscious, but when you're not conscious, when you're going through life, when things aren't working out, what are you saying? Beloved, I want to challenge you today to say what God says. People say, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. Well, I challenge that. I say, if you don't have anything good to say what God says. So, what does God say? He says, I love you, right? He says, no good thing will I withhold from you. He says, just all of these affirmations about who he is to you. And I want you to walk in that. Even when things are going all crazy around you, yes, give room to your emotions. But at the end of the day, Romans says what? For we know, not we feel, not we believe, but we know that all things work together to the good of them that love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. All right, so let's get started. Let's jump into my story for today. And like I said earlier, I posted earlier that last year my mother had a medical emergency. And it really threw our family into a tailspin because, like most medical emergencies, we didn't expect it. It wasn't on the horizon, there weren't any signs. And while I won't go into the details of the emergency, I'm just going to say it was life threatening. and it required her to have a surgery that unfortunately she could not have right away because she had to have some medications in her system for a certain amount of time before she could have the surgery to increase the probability of her survival. And so, what we found, we had this 2-week period where we needed to get things together, right? We had been talking about it all this time, y'all, you know, and we knew it needed to be done, but we had not gotten it done. And so we decided it was time to get the house in order. And if you don't know, some things that we learned about this process, right? I'm sorry, let me pause for a minute. I need to go back. For years, and my mom is not up here with me today, but she is going to join me one of these days so that you can hear the story from her because there's so much more that we can get into. But I want to share this part that for years, my mom had a DNR. Do you know what that is? And for the record, she has given me permission to share this. All right. So I'm not telling any family secrets. Belinda has given me permission. For years, y'all, she had a DNR, do not resuscitate, on her advance directive. Do you know what an advance directive is? It is the legal paperwork that says what a person wants to happen in the event they are incapacitated and they are unable to speak for themselves. So, if a person is unresponsive, do they want to be revived? Right? And for years, y'all, I'm talking decades, my mother has had no, do not resuscitate me for years. And I was saying, Mama, please. I think some of you all might be able to feel this here. Mama, please just change it because if you have to go on life support, then it'll buy you some time, please. She was saying no. Then COVID hit and we were hearing things like going on, the ventilator gives the lungs time to recover. And so, you know, um, that could be an option for some people. And I was saying, Mom, would you consider now, with COVID? I mean, if it's going to give your lungs a break, would you consider it? She said, Well, maybe I'll consider it. And then I would follow up with her periodically. Mama, did you change your advance directive? Did you change it? She'd say, No, no. Not yet, Theresa, not yet. Okay, all right. Well, finally, we had a discussion, and she said, No, I have not changed it. And I get emotional just considering that today because sometimes you just need some time, you know, and everyone has a right to make a decision for themselves. So this is not that. That's not what this discussion is about. When my mom had this medical emergency, I had taken her to the hospital and I said I would wait. She called. I said we were over in Portsmouth, Virginia, on the base, and she called and she said they're going to admit me. She said, and if anything happens, you can resuscitate me. And I need you to understand that 20 years, she was like, no. And this time, she said, yes. So we had to update her advance directive. And so we started looking into what information is needed, power of attorney, all of these things. And you all, what I learned was that a power of attorney in and of itself does not protect you when the loved one becomes incapacitated. So hear me. There are different types of power of attorney. Just the general power of attorney is in place for someone to transact business on your behalf while you still have capacity and can make decisions. But if anything should happen and you are incapacitated, that power of attorney cannot be enforced. And you need to have in place what is called a durable power of attorney. That one is enforced when you become incapacitated. And so We had a durable power of attorney drawn up to ensure that if anything went wrong, we'd be able to take care of business for my mom. Well, fast forward, y'all. It's the night before the surgery, and she brings all of her paperwork over to my home, all of the life insurance, the deed to the house, just everything so that we'd have it in the event because listen, we don't know. And yes, we are Bible believing, Jesus loving, um, God embracing people. And we don't know, we don't know what the end will be, but we trust what the end will be. And so we were preparing, and she told me to look over the life insurance policy. And as for those of you who joined me the very first time, you'll know that I'm now a licensed life insurance agent. And so I'm looking at her policy, and I said, now, again, understand you all, she's been telling me for decades that she has a whole life policy in place, okay, that she's been paying on since the early 2000s. And when I look at the policy, I go, Mama, I don't think this is a whole life policy. It looks like it's term. She's like, oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is a whole life policy. I'm like, Mama, I don't think this is a whole life policy. So I'm reading through it. I read through it. I said, you need to get your agent over here tonight. This is the night before she's going into surgery. Get your agent over here tonight. So the agent comes over and he confirms that Mama does not have a whole life policy. She has a universal life policy. And with the universal life policy, it works like whole life in that it builds cash value, but it works like term in that it can expire if it's not properly funded. And my mom did not understand that. She did not know that. She thought she had a whole life policy. And so we talked about what was going on at that time with the insurance agent. How did she come to get this product, et cetera, et cetera. And while that's a discussion for another day, I will come back and have a discussion about the conversations you should be having with your life insurance agents to make sure you always have what you need, enough coverage, the right policies, because needs change as you age, right? As children are born, as you get married, joining assets, figuring out all the pieces. I'll come back and have a discussion about that. So for right now, we're just going to table that. But my mother's life insurance policy is not a whole life policy, it's a universal life policy. It is the night before her surgery. And he says, well, at least you know you got coverage fully right now. And we're like, yes, but when does it end? Right? When does the coverage end? Because right now it is set to end because it hasn't been properly funded because my mom did not know. Y'all talk about a stress, but we had to table it because she was going into surgery the next day. She goes into surgery. The surgery itself goes well. And when they go to extubate her, remove the breathing tube, she has a laryngeal spasm, which means her throat muscles clamp tight. They just clamp tight. And they couldn't get her airways open. And we're sitting in the waiting room, and I'm like, man, this thing is taking much longer than we expected. Like, what's going on? But you know what? We're gonna hang out. And her airways had seized. They called everyone to her room. They didn't understand why it had happened. The likelihood of it happening, the percentage is so minuscule, the probabilities like not even really on a chart anywhere. The possibility and probability of this happening, but it happened with my mom. And y'all, if she had not changed her mind about that do not resuscitate, she wouldn't be here today. You know, and when I tell you I'm so grateful that God moved on her heart and she listened. I'm so grateful because she's still here, you know, and she's here and she's recovering. She's stronger, and I'm just so grateful, so grateful. It's taken her some months. She covered here with me, and it took her some months, you know, to get back to where she is today, having, more than reasonable independence. Not as much as she would like, but we're okay with where she is. I'm sure she would say no, but it's okay. And so I said, Mama, we got to tell this story. And she said, Yes, we do. Because we want you all to make sure your house is in order. And what that order looks like is this: the least you should have is a power of attorney in place. You want a power of attorney in place, a durable power of attorney. It's also called a medical power of attorney. There's a power of attorney for your business, a power of attorney for your digital assets, for your bank accounts, for your finances. So I want you to look into those things. So that's the first level. Then the second level is a will. You want to make sure you have a will in place. And so we took care of that as well at that time, making sure the will was in place and we knew where everything was going. We knew what my mother's wishes were, right? For what she wanted to happen with the house, etc. So you want to have a will in place. That's the second level of protection. Then the third level of protection after that, if you have your power of attorney in place, you have your will in place, then you want to get a living trust in place. And then after the living trust, you want to have an estate in place. So those are the four levels, broad levels, right? That you want to have in place to protect you and your family. And you want to ask the difficult questions, right? And so my mom had to have a second surgery about 2 to 3 months later. It was really quick. We didn't even have time to fully recover from the first one. And so I asked her, at what point, because, our agreement was, don't leave me on the ventilator forever, Theresa, she says. Mama, I won't. Just want to make sure there's time. She agreed. So I asked her, at what point would you want us to take you off the ventilator? Now, family, if you all are not having these discussions with your loved ones, you need to. Parents, you need to know what your children's wishes are, the younger ones that are old enough to understand, and your grown children. You need to know what their wishes are. You need to know what your spouse's wishes are. You need to know what your siblings' wishes are. You need to know what your parents' wishes are. And anyone else that you may care for, you should know what their wishes are. And they should know what your wishes are as well. You want to make sure you're clear and you've discussed it. So I said, at what point, should we take you off the vent? If they say, oh, she's not going to have the same quality of life, she's going to be paralyzed. Do you want us to take you off the vent? She said, no. She said, am I able to still use my hands? Am I able to still talk? Am I able to still contribute to the world? I said, well, what if they say you're paralyzed from the neck down? She said, am I able to still talk? Right? Like she's giving me context for how to think about the decision making. And while I'm grateful that she and I are having these discussions, I'm saying we need to have these discussions together as a family. Your children, my siblings, need to know what your wishes are as well. So that when those times come, should they come, we're all on the same page. We're not fighting because mama has already said what she wants. It's really important, really important. So make sure your house is in order. Ask the questions. If you're married and you own a house, does the spouse plan to stay in the house? Will the house be sold? And if the spouse plans to stay in the house, do you have a policy in place to cover that will pay it off in your death, right? These are the questions. Single parents, those of you who are single parenting, right? You're responsible for the care of your children. What happens to you? What happens to your children if you pass sooner rather than later? What happens to them if they're younger? Do you know? Have you had the discussion? And do you have a policy in place that will support them financially in your absence so that those who are caring for your children will not struggle to care for them? These are the types of things I want you all to be thinking about. And you all, these are things that I have to think about as a mom, as a single mom at that. You know, what happens? What happens to mine should something happen to me? Who's going to care for them, right? Because we assume, oh, well, so and so will take care of them. No, 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 no. You need to be clear and understand that when you're gone, whatever your contributions are to your family are gone. If they are financial, once you're gone, they're gone. If it is your time, once you're gone, it's gone. And so you may have to pay someone to replace your time. And if you don't have a way to replace the income, then you're leaving your family in a financial lurch and bondage. We don't want that. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That's what the word says. So if you have not checked your policies and you would like to have a policy review, you can reach out to your agent or you can give me a call, DM me. DM me at Janine. Just DM me. Let's set up some time for us to go over your policy so you can see what you have and what you don't have. Do you have enough coverage for your family in the event you leave here sooner rather than later? Do you have a will in place? Are your assets protected? Are your assets protected from taxes? These are the discussions we're going to have. I'm going to be bringing on some friends and who are professionals in these areas to help us have these discussions. And I want you to come ready. And I want you to pass this, repost this, share this out because this can help you to have the difficult conversations about life after your death. You need to have them, family. You need to have them. All right. So that's it for this week. That's it for this week. Come back next week. I'll be posting in between, starting in the next week as well. So, follow me, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, follow me at T Janine. You see down in the lower left corner at TJENEIN. Make sure you drop in the chat for me. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. Let me know if you're having these conversations with your family members and not just the family members that you're comfortable having the conversation with, right? Parents, if you have children that are adults and they have children, you need to have this conversation. You know, a friend of mine and I were talking. She's a lawyer. She handles wills, estates, and trusts, etc. She and I were having a discussion, and it was another young lady who walked in the room, single mom. She said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to butt into your conversation, but I'm listening to you and I need to make sure my son is protected. What do I need to do? I want life insurance," she said, "but my sister told me don't worry about it right now because it's too expensive." It's not too expensive, family. Like for most people, today is the youngest and the healthiest that you're going to be. Get that policy now. And if you want help with it, give me a call so I could tell you what your options are. Y'all, life insurance isn't what it used to be. It's so much more better, effective, and functional. And believe it or not just in your death, but also in your life. And so I want to help you with that. All right. The charge for next week. The charge for next week. Keep answering those questions. How different would your life be if you took your own advice? Come prepared to share. And how different would you be if you believe God? I have to tell you something. When the word says there is fullness of joy in the presence of God, it never lied, you know, and it doesn't always feel that way. But what I know, like my comfort is in knowing what I know. And what I know is that my God is God above all gods, and He's got me. He will perfect that which concerns me, and He will perfect that which concerns you. I love you, beloved, and I'll see you here next week, 9 p.m. sharp. Come prepared for the conversation. Love y'all. Toodles.